Are you looking for hope, humor, and help along this crazy journey called life? If so, then this podcast is for you. As a homeschooling mom of 5, I went from a depressed coffee addict to a passionate storyteller, and I want you to know that there is more to life than what you can always see. I'm your host, Melanie Gall, and on this show, you'll gain tools to create the life you want, cultivate who you are made to be, and celebrate just how far you've come on this messy road. I praise the Lord that He isn't done with any of us yet, and the truth is, because of Him, we are sustained in the middle. Hey, thank you so much for being part of our Sustained in the Middle community. You know, my prayer is that the Lord would use this podcast to speak to you about where He wants to take you, who you are, and how much He loves you. When we love Jesus, He promises to never leave us or forsake us. Isaiah 46:4 was actually the inspiration for the title of this podcast. Listen to me, O house of Jacob, all you who remain in the house of Israel, you whom I have upheld since you were conceived and have carried you since your birth. Even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you. So we have this truth over here on the left-hand side. But then we also have the truth over here on the right-hand side that our lives are flipping messy. Brené Brown talks about sitting in the discomfort of the unknown. We always want to figure it out, to make it right, to get back to what is comfortable. And that comfort actually can become an idol in our society and in our hearts if we don't grow in our mindset, our marriages, or our parenting. So often we aren't willing to sit and have faith that God is working even when we can't see it. The sovereignty of God is always at work, and it's in the long run that we can look back and see His hand over our lives. Are we open to being curious, exploring our mindset and our faith during the hard times, while trying to cling to God's faithfulness to us that we saw in the past? This podcast is a mix of comedic situations, helpful tools, and truth that even though we go through hard things in life, God is always there, sustaining us in the middle of our messes. There is hope for me, and there is hope for you. You know, years ago, my parents took my sister and I on a cross-Canada trip. When we arrived at our final destination in Edmonton, Alberta, the RV people who had sent a friend of theirs to come pick up the RV in their place started chatting with us. As we got to talking, the man said his children went to a Bible college in his tiny little hick town called Sexsmith, Alberta. After snickering at the name, I gave him my number for the registrar to call. She did. I took the info and promptly shoved any papers that they sent to me into my bedside nightstand and went on my teenage way. Fast forward a year, I did not know what college to go to. I wanted to do linguistics, and I put that in applications to 3 different universities and 5 colleges, and I got accepted to them all. Not only that, but I got scholarships to every single one to boot. That is not to boast. That was actually very frustrating for me. As a follower of Christ, I just really wanted to do His will and to put this particular situation in God's hands. I was really upset, though, that He wasn't more clear-cut with me. In my distress, I cried out to Jesus. I just desperately wanted it to be like that Saved by the Bell episode, where they got the proper college, the one college, the greatest college that accepted them and that they got to go to, and it was so easy. Well, after I cried out to Jesus, He actually reminded me of those long forgotten papers that were in my nightstand. So I pulled them out. Well, I realized this was the one. My parents, on the other hand, weren't so sure, as there were literally hundreds of Bible colleges between Southern Ontario and Northern Alberta. But off I went. As my dad was hugging me goodbye in the parking lot of that Bible college in Northern Alberta, I could feel his silent sobs. It still makes me teary to this day, feeling the pang of this venture into adulthood for both of us. Little did I know broken relationships, confused identity, and long, nauseating all-nighters were awaiting me. I wish I knew then what I am confident of now. God's plan, His purpose, and His love are far greater than any of us can imagine. That He is a God of goodness, and that goodness, love, and mercy will follow us wherever we go. It's a promise that Psalm 23 verse 6 makes, and I didn't know it then. But with each and everything that I went through during those college days, God was making me into the woman that I am now. That even though those situations were hard, He sustained me through it all. And I have story upon story of God's faithfulness to me, even in the messes. Some things to say to yourself when you're unsure of your next steps. I am capable of hard things. Something that I've learned is that there's more to this story than I can see right now. I will walk by faith. And my favorite is God has been faithful to me this far. He won't let me down now. As you walk in the mess of your life, please know that you are not alone, and that me, like you, we are both sustained in the middle because of a God who loves us and wants the best for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this podcast with your friends and family because you never know who needs this type of hope in their life. I so appreciate it. Talk to you again.